Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. It is vital, absolutely vital. All right. Now, when you have all this different information with you at your disposal, and now you are going to write a story, you are basically going to create a narration because the narration now is a combination of different story.
Mhm.
Um, how do you choose what to include and what to remove from it?
That's a really good question. I mean, you're asking me some questions today. I think I'm so glad I agreed to do this podcast and that I'm here talking to you based on what we're going through. So how do I decide what to leave in and what to leave out? So as I mentioned, for me, I'm in service to this story, and that means that at a certain point, all I'm loyal to is that story. It took me a while to get there as well. So, my writing process, I would say, has three stages. There's the initial stage of just almost like tapping into that inspiration. It's like if like I say, I tap into that story. Um, and at that point, I'm just trying to write it down. I'm just trying to get the details of it down. Um, and that does include a little bit of sentimentality there because I'm listening to the characters in my head. I'm trying to faithfully reproduce what I'm seeing in my mind. Then the second stage for me is the crafting stage. So that's when I'm really trying to ask the questions: what is this story about? Is this character telling me the truth? Do I need to interrogate this a little more and find out what's the story behind the story, as it were. The third stage for me is the editing stage. And at that point, I'm totally separated from any idea of sentimentality. Even though that's hard sometimes, depending on the story, but I separate myself from that story and from the attachment to characters, places, ideas, sentences, paragraphs, chapters. At the editing stage, it is just about what serves this story. And I can be pretty ruthless with that at that point because the story is paramount. And I'll give you an example. I mean, I had somebody come to me recently and say, in this novel that you've written, I'm so glad that the novel has been so well received and it's been successful. But did you have to write about Barbados from that perspective? Did you have to sort of tell that story of the underbelly? Couldn't you, if it's gonna do well, couldn't it be like a story about all the good aspects of it? And my response to her was no, because that wasn't the truth of this story. So I wasn't going to leave out the aspects that might appear to be painting Barbados in a quote unquote negative light, because they were necessary for the story that I was telling. And so those parts had to stay in. Um, and so for me, and again, that's now an issue of national identity, because for so long our economy, we're a small island state, and we depend on tourism is one of the pillars of our economy, and that means that there is a certain aspect of giving good face that we grow up with and we take for granted. So there's this feeling of presenting the best that we have to offer to tourists, and that's a reality. I remember there used to be this ad that would show on TV and on the radio all the time: "Tourism is our business. Let's play our part." This slogan was everywhere, um, and I think one of the things that it didn't acknowledge is that when you're playing a part, in one sense you're contributing, but in another sense you're not being true to who you are. You're playing a part, you're presenting an illusion, or you're being part of an illusion, or part of the idea that we are more or all one thing and not others, which simply isn't true. Barbados is a place and a country like any other place. We have our very beautiful aspects. We also have our issues. So for me, that was one of the things we kind of want to show the pink powdery sand beaches. We want to show the crystal clear water and the sunshine, and we want people who come here on holiday to think sometimes that we are about a hammock under a coconut tree with a frothy cocktail and a life of leisure. um, and for some of us that may be true, but for a lot of us, it isn't. And the truth of this story was talking about some of those people for whom Barbados is not the postcard. And therefore, those aspects had to stay in. So, for me, I tend to edit in that way. It's really about what is true for the story that I'm telling and what will serve that story. And that's how I decide what stays in and what goes out.
The truth sayers sometimes they are often punished for say their truth. No,
Yeah.
that I like what you said before. Like a message came to you, or usually come to you, and you are going there to tell the story, uh, craft it and present it. In that sense, it appeared that the writer is a messenger, is there to pass a message to the people. If that is the case, let's take them for who they are without over expecting that they are going to do it in your own way. If everybody
Yes.
is going to do it in your own way, this world is going to be very boring because it
Mm-hmm.
means we don't have one-sided story, the one that we already know. But
Yes.
that
Yeah.
is not how life is. Life
No.
is multiples of dimension.
Yes.
Because my O is different from your O, which is different from his O and from her O. That
Yeah.
is why we have something interesting to talk about all the time.
Yes. Yes.
That
And
is important.
yeah, it really is important. And I think we do ourselves, not only ourselves, we do ourselves a disservice, but we also do other people a disservice when we try to make it appear as if there's only one story, only one perspective, only one aspect of anything. There is always a plethora of stories and of perspectives, and I think we really gain understanding of each other, and we really start to appreciate who we are as a global community when we accept um, those alternative perspectives or those other perspectives, and we approach them with respect. We need to be able to understand that there are different dimensions to everything, almost everything. Well, everything in reality, there are different dimensions. Something happened, and there are five people viewing an accident on the road, and they can tell you five different perspectives on one incident. There's a country, and we have several different people living here or visiting here, and they have different perspectives to tell. They have different stories about where we are. It's the same place, different perspectives. And I think that's how it is in the global community. And we need to understand and appreciate that. So we need to not do ourselves a disservice by valuing one perspective, one approach more than any other.